Chuck Russell was sharing in his book, The Bible versus Evolution. I thought you'd never ask. I here want to issue a trigger warning, okay? A trigger warning. From the book, The Bible versus Evolution, page 30, during this time period and propped up again 60, 70 years later in a 55 watchtower, the truths dispensed were this, quote, God has specially blessed and favored certain branches of the Aryan race in Europe and America. If you're thinking that sounds an awful lot like Adolf Hitler, you'd be correct. Back to the book, quote, but the fact that the white race has been more abundantly blessed with the light of the gospel than others is not to be understood to signify that when members of other races heard and appreciated the gospel, they were repulsed or rejected by the Lord. Wow. Back to the quote, while the elect church will probably be composed chiefly of the highly favored white race, nevertheless, it will probably have in it representatives out of every kindred, people, and tongue, end quote. My. Truth, as dispensed by the organization known as Jehovah's Witnesses. Thanks for throwing the vast majority of mankind that isn't Caucasian a bone in this paragraph, Chuck Taze Russell. But I did notice that you started something even more important when taking a long look at how you claim to be the truth. You're the guy, and I didn't realize it till reading this, that started with those pesky words that the governing body likes to use. You may have caught it. He used the word probably. There's a word to hang your life on. Factual, not emotional.
Listen, man, Charles Taze Russell is the beginning of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't look into it. I had a Bible student reach out. A lot of people don't know Charles Taze Russell formed a group called the Bible Students. They would take a scripture and they would analyze the scripture and they would compare it to other scriptures, whether it was the New Testament or the Old Testament. And their method was like almost like keeping the Bible to a standard of not just jumping to a conclusion. They would cross-reference Bible scriptures. So they was called the Bible Students. Eventually, they became Jehovah's Witnesses, and that change of name might not have been under Russell, but he still fathered the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, just because I want to say he died in 1916 going to Texas on a train. That's just off the top of the head. Because, I read books like the Proclaimer book, the Insight books, and, I grew up a witness, a Jehovah's Witness for real. Like, I don't know a lot, but I know enough. And I know that I know for sure Charles Taze Russell died in 1916. And his successor was Brother Rutherford. And even in Jehovah's Witnesses videos, they admitted that Brother Rutherford had a lot of conflict with a lot of the, I'm guessing there was people in Bethel, or they had other people that was under Charles. It was like a power struggle after Charles Taze Russell died, and Brother Rutherford, kind of controlled the crowd enough that where he kind of inserted himself as the president. And I never really looked into the Bible Students, but what I have to say is I can understand their gripe against Jehovah's Witnesses but I'm not taking the Bible Students or the Witnesses side because it's all man-made. I mean, it's good that they cross-reference scriptures and they're trying to get to the truth of the matter, but I just believe it's just man-made, and this video I played for you shows that it is. Now, you can have views of race. You can have controversial views on race. I don't really care because I listen to everybody. And as a witness, as I was a kid, as a witness, before I even knew what the word coon meant, I was in a car group driving in service or going knock on people's doors. And one of the drivers, they had a black sister, and it was me. I was young, and I was in the car group. It was like 6 white brothers and 2. It was me and this other black sister. We was only 2 in this real big van they had in the 90s. Y'all remember those real big vans? And he was calling people in the black neighborhood that we was going door to door. He was calling them coons. And I remember, I cannot forget, the black sister said she called his name and she reprimanded him. And her and his brother wife got on him for calling, black people coons. And I think he forgot we was in the car. And they had many, a lot of the white brothers just didn't like black brothers, and maybe because they felt like civil rights wasn't justified, or they might have took the book of the Bible that the Catholics took, thinking that maybe the Hamites was cursed, or, the Canaanites was cursed, or whatever it was. But just to keep it fair and balanced, I do remember my sister said that she was out in service with majority black brothers, and sisters, and they had this one white sister, and they was saying how evil white people were for segregation and slavery, and the white sister cried the whole time. It was like they was out in service for 3 hours, and my sister said she felt so bad because these 2 sisters was just going off about how white people just inflicted so much pain on blacks. So my question is, excuse my French, but I just have to say, who gives a fuck about the Bible students and what the schism between them and the witness? Who gives a fuck about that when the real problem is y'all claim y'all have what it was, John 13:34 and 35, that when Jesus said that they would know that you are his people by the love you have amongst each other, you don't see that. And this is a testimony from somebody that spent their whole life as a witness. You do not see that at all. Now, on the surface level, if you know somebody, your brother or your teammate, just say football, you might have a football team, an NFL football team, that they might feel like they're brothers. They go out every Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night, and they play and they fight to the end for their team, but they still might have their own prejudices. But at that game, they're brothers, but catch them any other time, they might have a different opinion. So what I'm telling you, even as my, I'm gonna give you my personal testimony. I grew up a witness. I had a lot of white friends because in the congregation I was in, it was mainly white people. When I went to school, the black kids, the so-called worldly kids, gave me a hard time because I was hanging around white people all the time. And I folded into their pressure, and I started to disown my white friends because I was under so much pressure because I was hanging around with white people. Ain't that crazy? And I still feel saddened to this day because that's a lack of character. So I'm honest enough. That's sad that I did that. That's sad. I remember I had one friend came up to me, and I didn't really want to talk to him. And the only justification I can say is that I was, like I said, I grew up in a cult, bro. And it was so much pressure. They were so that I did, I wasn't the young black kids. They were sexually active young. I didn't know nothing about sex. You know what I'm saying? I didn't wear the cool clothes. The kids I did hang around with, a lot of them was white early on, and that was wrong. I was pressured to stay away from those people. I was pressured, like, you're not supposed to hang with those people. So I don't judge race like others, man, but at the same time, if you claim to be with God, if you claim to be God's representative, you wouldn't exhibit those prejudices as a leader, as a representative like Charles Taze Russell. I want to add this Gandhi. I watched the Gandhi movie. I don't know the actor name. It was an excellent movie. Come to find out, Gandhi had a lot of racist views about black people. And I know, look, a lot of people don't like black people. They view us as criminals. You know, we in the news every night for shooting and robbing and stealing or whatever. But that's not the majority of us, and they do have a legacy of slavery in America. That just being a witness, I understand trauma. Just imagine being a slave. So just imagine being a black witness. You have the legacy of slavery and of being a witness. So good night, y'all.